The question for you guys is, what keeps you up at night? What keeps you up at night isn't the good ones. What keeps you up at night is the ones that don't get it, and you can't figure out what you're doing wrong as an instructor trying to get them to do something. So I think it's just like anything. I mean, it's the hardest part.
Whether you live northeast, west, or south, the best fast pitch info comes from the coach's mouth. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast with your hosts, Jay Bolden and Ken Kraus. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast. This is Ken Kraus, here as always with my good buddy and partner, Jay Bolden. Jay, how are we doing this morning?
Doing pretty well, Ken. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. And, if it's afternoon or evening as you're listening to this, good afternoon, good evening. What's new with you, Jay?
Nothing. Just enjoyed a great Father's Day this past weekend. And I have my birthday coming up this weekend, turning the big 50. Not really looking forward to that, but as you've told me, it's just the 50 is the new 40, and I'm excited for that. So, just enjoying some time with the family, getting a lot of good lessons in. I'm actually going to head out recruiting this weekend down here in Crown Point, Indiana. There's a big PGF qualifier, so lots of teams and lots of coaches coming down to recruit. So, looking forward to recruit and also network with some of the college coaches that are out there. How about you? What do you got going on?
Just doing lessons, kind of going through it. Hey, I did want to mention, I saw you had, I think at least one girl win a state championship. You had a few of them that were in there competing for the state championship, had some all-state awardees. So, you're killing it over there, man.
Yeah, I wish I could say it was all me, Ken, but as you know, it's not me. That's all on those kids. They put the work in. They're the ones that are doing the work. I'm just kind of like the roadmap for them, using my eyes and things that I know to help them be better. So, yeah, I had Taylor Norcus and the Beecher Bobcats, Mackenzie Johnson, who also hits with me, and her younger sister pitches with me, Allie Johnson. They won. Beecher won the 2A state championship in a great game. And then I had a couple kids from Lockport High School that made it downstate, placed fourth. So a great year for Kelsey McGraw. She's going to Colgate next year, and excited to see what she does next year at the college level.
That sounds great. Well, shall we get going with our guest today?
Absolutely. Let people know who we have today. This is going to be a great guest. I'm super excited for this one.
Me too. All right, so today's guest holds the distinction of being one of the best pitching coaches you probably never heard of, but you know his work. He is a former men's fast pitch pitcher who accumulated more than 1,000 wins, 12,000 strikeouts, 34 perfect games, 107 no-hitters, and 8 20-plus strikeout games. He holds 15 Nebraska and Iowa State championships and was twice named the ASA, now USA Softball, National Most Valuable Player. He also pitched in more than 25 International Softball Federation World and ASA national tournaments and is a member of several Halls of Fame, including USA Softball of Nebraska, Metro Omaha Softball, Des Moines Softball, and Iowa State Softball. So he certainly knows his way around the circle. As an instructor over the last 10 years, more than 55 of his students, and counting, have received pitching scholarships, including 20 at such D1 schools as Oregon, Oklahoma, Louisiana Lafayette, Nebraska Creighton, Iowa UNO, Missouri, South Dakota, and South Dakota State University. But it's one particular student that is probably the most interesting to most people because he has been Jordy Bahl's pitching coach since she was 8 years old. I'm sure he's done more too, but it's kind of tough to find because for all of his many accomplishments, he remains one of the most humble and unassuming gentlemen you'll ever find in the softball world. Don't let his modesty fool you, though, because he really knows his stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Darren Dubsky to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast. Hi, guys. How's it going? Great, Darren.
Good.
How are you? I'm doing good.
Did I capture your essence there? Yeah, except it's Dubsky, not Dubsky, but that's all right.
Okay.
But otherwise, it was a nice read. Thank you.
Okay. Well, next time I'll have to check the pronunciation guide.
When you were playing, did you have a nickname? What'd they call you?
Well, they called me Duber, and
Duber?
so that was just because of the name, nothing else.
Yeah. Let's get into it. You were obviously, from all of that, you're a very high level men's fast pitch pitcher, but it all has to start somewhere. Where did you get started in fast pitch?
Well, I grew up on a farm. We were probably 10 miles from the nearest small town, and my dad was a fast pitch pitcher. And back in the day, there was a lot of teams around, a lot of tournaments, and I remember growing up, and basically all he did is worked, and he went and played softball, and it was a little bit different back then. They were single elimination tournaments. You go on a Tuesday night, and if you win, you go on a Thursday night. If you win, you go on a Saturday night. And, maybe this finals is on a Sunday. So, anywhere from 10 to 25 miles away. So I kind of tagged along, and being on a farm and not knowing anybody, not going into town, that was probably the highlight of my life at the time.
So your dad was pitching, and then how'd you get into did he draft you in when you got old enough?
Well, as a kid, I went to country school, which a lot of people wouldn't even know what that is. So I went to a country school K through 8. With basically, I had one classmate and about 12 kids in the school. So that's how I grew up. So very, there just wasn't, we just didn't have a lot. So, you saw something, and my dad was good at it. He's in the Hall of Fame. And so it was something that intrigued me as a kid. So that's what I wanted to do.
So you grew up doing that and then pitching. Was your dad in the backyard with you, helping you learn how to pitch, or how did you get into the pitching part of that? Did you learn by happening? Give us a little idea how you started being a pitcher.
I think it's learning by happening. I talked to my dad. I said, how did you learn? Well, my, uncle showed me, and I used to throw a softball into a dirt pile. Back then we didn't have buckets of balls. We didn't have anything. So I think I found an old mattress or something and started throwing a ball into it. And, a person doesn't know if they're any good at it or not, but you just start doing it. We didn't have a lot of time for the backyard just because being on a farm, putting a lot of time in. So, but we played some catch.
And then did your dad work with you kind of, like you would be doing lessons, or was it more like he'd see you in the backyard and say, hey, you know what, you ought to be doing this?
Nope, there was no lessons like that. I would ask him a few questions. I grew up actually playing baseball and basketball and football, and I wanted to pitch softball, but they wouldn't even let us. You couldn't play until you were out of high school, so in any type of league. So I really didn't do anything until I was out of high school.
So I want to ask you a question too, Darren, and this is more now. I'm going to jump. I know I'm jumping around here a little bit, but this is where I feel like there's the disconnect in good instruction, right? Like I feel like when you were learning, it was kind of the same way I was. Nobody ever gave me a lesson. We were just out throwing the ball around to each other. And so I feel like it's when you have instructors that start doing lessons with these kids, they take the athlete and the movement of the body out of what it's supposed to do. They make it very regimented and very robotic, right? And I feel like that's half of the battle. Like I'll have dads and kids that'll come in here and their mouth will drop when I say, play catch overhand. And then I'll say, now I want you to play catch underhand. And we're trying to make that the same thing. And I'll talk to them like, notice how you are allowing your body to move and the arm to be fluid and do what it's supposed to do, instead of, okay, let's put our feet this way. Let's put our arm up here and our hand here. Like, I feel like that's kind of like the disconnect of good instruction and bad instruction, is not understanding, like, hey, sometimes you just have to mess around and throw the ball, like, right, and let the things happen. What do you feel about that? I know we're getting instruction part of this, but I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, when I asked my dad some technical questions, he really would say, I don't really know. I just would throw it. I grip it this way and throw it, and that's how I was taught. So the way I learned is you kind of watch and you see somebody that's pretty good and you might ask them some questions. But, when I started pitching, it was 2 feet on the rubber and you couldn't leave, you couldn't jump or anything like that. So, you kind of mess with it. And then I think you have questions, and there wasn't a lot of people to answer questions back then, because sometimes you just do and you don't even know what you did. So I would doubt that, many pitchers got any quality instruction. I don't know if there was any quality instruction, which I'm not going to jump too far here, but I think that's one of the reasons I got into instructing, is because what I had seen with some girls' instruction, it's like I just was jaw dropping why they would get instructed a certain way like that. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Well, how did you get involved in coaching females? So you said, you played baseball and all that. You played men's fast pitch. Where did you get involved with the girls?
Well, it was probably 2010. I remember a friend of mine, his daughter was a pretty good pitcher, and I talked to her and I said, well, what are you told to do? And my jaw dropped. It's like, how in the world can this even be right? Just technically in your head, not even knowing much about it. I just said, this is just, I have to try to help these kids, because there was just, around here in Nebraska, I don't know when high school started, maybe 93 or something. There just wasn't much around. I mean, it was just like, you look at this big, region, it's like you just never saw any, top level kids coming out here. And it's like, well, gee whiz, I understand now why, because it's so regimented and robotic. It's like, I don't even know where some of this stuff even came from. So I thought, well, I want to try to help these kids, and you learn by failure, but you'd simplify and you'd try to just get more and more and more, and still trying to learn. So
did you find that as you were working with the girls, sometimes you'd look and you'd see what they were taught to do versus what their bodies were trying to do? It was like, they had the inclination to be more fluid, to be more natural, and yet they were being kind of shoved into this box and forced to do these movements that were going against that.
Yeah, 100%. I know that there's some certain movements that the body does automatically, and it's like, most kids I would get in, was the arm turning and the ball turning, and they would do this and their hips would come through. And I said, I know this is going to sound different, but this is the way I feel you should do it. And you get to show me. And the kid would look at me like, what do you mean? You just told me I'm doing it wrong. I said, well, you don't even have to take a ball. Just stand to the side and make your arm go in circles. And I would just stop their arm in certain places, and their hand would be in perfect position. It's like, this is how you should throw. Everything you do is against what your body actually does. So that was kind of the premise of, most kids. It's like, let's move like the body is meant to move. Let's not force anything. And I always thought that it would be simple to take somebody and say, well, let's just do this. Let's get away from this. And the more I did it, it's like, wow, the older the kids get, some of these movements are almost impossible to change. As many drills as you do, it's like, this is really hard to change a movement pattern that they've been doing. And then especially the ones that are hard workers, hard workers and smart workers are different, but it's these hard workers, and it's tough. I think the hardest thing about being an instructor is not making somebody do something right. It's like trying to get them away from doing something wrong.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I find the same thing a lot of times, is that those patterns get ingrained, and that's I guess what drives me crazy. I know drives Jay crazy as well, when you see these things where people say, well, here, just teach them to do this because it'll help them throw more strikes when they're 8 years old or 10 years old, and then they can unlearn it later and learn better movement patterns. Their body will figure it out. It's like, yeah, that's true for some, but not for everybody, and probably not even for the majority. It takes a pretty extraordinary athlete to be able to overcome all of that. But, the extraordinary athletes are few and far between. What about all the other girls who want to pitch and are capable of pitching, but are going to need better direction?
Yep, 100%. There's, I think you have to try to get them on the right path, simplify as much as you can. And I know they struggle to throw strikes, but that's where it comes to, keeping it simple and putting in some good quality work. Some people think work is coming to a lesson once a week. And I said, work has nothing to do with you, your team. Work has nothing to do with me. Work has to do with anything that you put in by yourself away from softball. That's what, to me, work is. Otherwise, it's just practice. We want to work. We don't want to need to practice.
Right.
So Darren, are you just instructor, or did you have any coaching background at all? Did you coach high school or any of the college you coached? Did you do any of that, or is it just strictly you went from the men's fast pitch into just instruction in 2010?
I just did some instruction part-time. I had a full-time job for 38 years, and I just started doing instruction and enjoyed it and had some success. And I don't know, I think with anything, it's like then you want to try to get better at it.
So I want to go back now a little bit to your playing days. You were a pitcher, a very dominant pitcher, but I want you, if you can you remember who were some of the hardest hitters you ever faced that were just the toughest outs?
Well, I mean, Pincor had a lot of good players. ADM, if anybody remembers that, that's the Decatur, Illinois team. They had, I mean, these top level Brian Rothrock and Marty Kernigan and Tim Sorensen. And I mean, guys that Randy Burnside, you're just like, I don't know, almost a little bit scared of. And, things that where I was when I was younger, where I really struggled to have any type of help pitching. So I was one of the better pitchers, so I really had nobody to go to if I struggled. So, get a little, people you don't want to tell somebody, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of scared of this dude. He's going to like take my head off. You don't really want to tell anybody that. But, I think that looking back on it is the focus was more on not getting hit than it was focused on what you're supposed to do with the ball. I think a lot of my issues, some of my goods, some of my bads that I had pitching has helped immensely in coaching, where I can help a person through it instead of letting them learn on their own. It's like, I mean, you got to get hit on your own or you got to do this on your own. But I do have answers for a lot of that, where most people that haven't played will just say, whatever, hey, strike them out or focus or whatever. It's like, yeah, there's a little bit more deep inside the guts than that when it comes to those tough games. So I think that's where I can help the most, because I was there and, mostly in a good mindset, but there's times it's like, whoa, man, this is a pretty tough situation.
Yeah, it's funny that you use the F word. The parents use that all the time. Focus. When they don't know what else to say, the girl's in a lesson, she's struggling with something. Focus, as if she's not trying to focus, as if she's trying to do poorly.
Correct. But yeah, back to the hitters. I mean, I faced a lot of great hitters. I mean, top level hitters. And it's funny, people will watch women's softball in college and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe people could hit it. It's like, you've never seen Adam Folker throw, or Peter Meredith throw, or Michael White throw, or Mike Pieknik throw, or Jimmy Seaman throw. And I never could figure out how people would ever hit them. Well, even the best hitters maybe batted 200 off them, those top level guys, David Scott, watching those guys as a kid was like the neatest thing in the world. And I didn't get to watch that every weekend. So when I did, it was really something else.
When you did have a question, if you went to other pitchers, did you find that the men were willing to share, that they were willing to exchange ideas and all that, or were they kind of close to the vest with their information?
Where I grew up, there wasn't a lot of top level pitching, not like when I got into 5, 6, 7 years down the line. So, they would share with what they knew. And a lot of it, as a kid, I wasn't smart enough to say, how do you grip that rise ball? How do you grip this? How do you grip this? How do you grip this? My feeble mind thinking that the grip was going to equal movement. At the time, it was. It's like, wow, if I could just grip it, if I just throw it like this, then it's going to do this. And it's like, no.
So you mean it doesn't? It isn't all about the grip?
There was not a lot of mechanical instruction. There was, there was just some grips, and the top level guys that I was later able to talk to, I just was probably a little intimidated and didn't know even what questions to ask. You just try to copy them. It's like, well, I'm going to try to move like you or do this like you. And so that's kind of how we learned. It's just you're trying to copy people.
And then, we talked about movement patterns before. Did you find that it was easier to copy some people than others?
Yes. But I tried most of the good ones, just like watching college softball many years ago. The next year would come out and you would have windups like Osterman or Dallas Escobedo or, things like that. And, the instructors would grab a hold of that and said, let's do this. And it's like, I would ask kids, it's like, what are you trying to accomplish with that? I don't know. My instructor told me to do it. So yeah, I thought sometimes I would actually throw better trying to copy it, and then you think you got it figured out, and and then a few weeks later, but it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just fall back into whatever little issues you had.
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember the name now, but it was the college pitcher that would twist left and then twist right, and then she would go into it, and she did very well, and everybody was copying that. And then finally saw an interview with her where some reporter finally asked her, "Why do you do that?" And there was no mechanical reason at all. She said, "I just couldn't get my glove position to hide my grip from the third base coach, so I would twist to the left so they couldn't see me change my grip, and then I would go into it." And yet all these girls all over the country were copying her without understanding why.
Sure.
So, your most well-known student is Jordy Bahl. So when did you start coaching Jordy?
Well, it's an interesting story. I worked as a computer programmer and my last supervisor was Jordy Bahl's grandmother. So she had gotten a hold of me, and I had probably been doing it for 10 years, probably more like 6 years. She got a hold of me. She says, "Can you see, hey, would you mind looking at my granddaughter?" Which I've heard that, a million times.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's just a lot of kids that it's like, I want to be good immediately. And if I'm not, then I don't care. It's like, well, sure, I'll do it. As a favor. And so here walks in this little tiny girl, and it kind of all started from there.
And was she 8 years old at the time? Is that that's a story I've seen. Is that the truth? Or
Yeah, she was 8. Yep.
When you first saw her, you did that first lesson. Did you have any idea that she would become what she has become, or was she just a typical 8-year-old kind of stumbling through?
I would say that what caught my eye was her eye. She would look at you and she would focus and she would try really hard to do what you ask, in comparison to, attention span of most 8-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely say, I would say the difference with her is there was nothing I ever had to undo. I think that was a big deal with success. I just didn't have to undo anything. So I keep it really simple, and we got along quite well. And she would work, and she would come back, and it was really nice for me to say, "Wow, this person's actually doing what I want them to do." And so we would just keep working. I mean, I'm very big into simplicity and precision. So I know that her dad caught her a lot and she practiced a lot, but we were very good at practicing simplicity and precision. And, I think it's just like playing the piano or dance or anything else. It's like, if you want to be great at it, you gotta really work hard at trying to get the little things down perfectly.
I want to ask you a question a little bit about her mechanics, and you have another amazing pitcher too that I think is amazing, which is Maddie Groff. I think that kid can absolutely she's something special as well too. I saw her throw down in Carbondale when I was down at Loyola, and she could just move the ball, had the speed. She's a great lefty pitcher too.
A tiny kid, which goes to show all kids. It's like you don't have to be 6 feet tall. She's 5'3", 5'4", and there's plenty of reason for her that with her successes too.
Yeah, she's a very good pitcher. I want to talk about Jordy. When Jordy gets on the mound, Darren, you see her with that nice arm swing before she goes into her glove. Is that something that it just came to her naturally, or is that something that you said, "Hey, maybe you need to do this," or was that, talk about how she kind of just lets that arm float out there?
Yeah, that's her own thing. We never talked about that. We were taught as I got older pitching, we really have to focus on hiding the ball. So she had gone to, back when I was actually decent, she had gone to a few games. So I think she picked up, I didn't do it like that, but she had picked up some habits of mine. And a lot of people come back to me and say, "God, she throws just like you." And it's like, yeah, I don't see it, but she moves a lot better than I ever did. Anyway, I think that you're always you just want somebody to feel natural. And if they do mechanically do good things, it's like, who cares how they get there? So, that's her thing. And I think it's just a relaxation and a focus thing.
Another thing I want to talk to you about real quick too is, so it's funny. I'll have parents, I'll talk a lot about compression when we're landing, the good compression, the squeezing into the body. And I see, a lot of Maddie's back shoulder and Jordy's back shoulder being behind them, and they're squeezing into their body instead of, you'll see a lot of kids that are being taught different mechanics. They're getting a lot of that rotational stuff towards the catcher. That's one of the things, like I can see both the similar qualities with Maddie and Jordy is that they're really coming into the body. Is that a Darren thing that Darren teaches, or is that something that they're just doing naturally as well too?
Well, I would say that my number one drill and number one thing that I saw where people get the most success is throwing in your glove. And you throw in your glove, and you throw in your glove, and you throw in your glove, and you do it right, and you do it a million times. Because if you do it right, you will get compression. You can work on your backside a little bit throwing your glove. I don't recommend it going full, but both of those girls have probably thrown in their glove 500,000 times. And I think that is a key role on developing, the backside and the front side working together. Jordy uses it as a tool when she feels like she's off a little bit, getting the front foot down, throwing in your glove, getting the backside through. So that's a big one to me, throwing in your glove a lot. And you can do that at home. And that's the thing. It's like I tell these kids, I say, you got to throw in your glove. You got to do it every day. Once you do it right, you can do it a little bit harder, and you do it and do it and do it and do it. So when you throw, things line up together. You got to do it right. But that was, I would have to say, if there's any magic, that would be the easiest way that you can get better.
Are there any other drills like that you feel like, boy, if you just spend some time doing this rather than trying to throw from 40 or 43 or 35 feet, you do this drill or that drill, that it'll make you a better pitcher?
Yes. Throwing in the glove and doing, I would call it like a step and throw, where you're just standing there like you're going to push, but instead of push, you just step, your weight stays on your back foot, you land, you throw the ball, you drag through. And you have balance, and you have balance, and you have balance, and you have balance. I think one of the best tips I ever got, and I was well beyond my years of being a good pitcher, so I sat down and, I don't know, maybe had a beer with Mike White, and finally was able to ask him, because I think in the past I was always probably intimidated. It's like, what do you think the number one thing is for being a great pitcher? And I thought, man, I kind of, any answer that he has, I'm going to know this. And he comes out and he goes, posture. That's like, never thought of it in 1,000 years. Not like that. I mean, because you think it just happens. So I never thought about that in a million years about, sure, we assume it, right? We assume posture, but nobody said ever that it's like, you want posture. And if you looked at his posture at release, and then I started going back and looking at there wasn't much picture or videos. So pictures of people at release, these top level people, guess what you see? The same exact posture. You don't see anything at the beginning the same. You don't see anything at the end of the same. At release, they're all the same. And it's like, missed that one. If I would have known that as a kid, I think it would have certainly helped my career as well. Just this trying to be in these certain postures at release. So it was a big deal to me. And I think the world of Michael White. I thought he was one of the best pitchers ever. Good to copy, makes sense, keeps it simple. So I adapt posture as being one of my main goals, and being able to go as hard as you can, yet have posture. And if you can't do it, then you struggle to be consistent. If you have great posture when you release the ball, it's like, now I can really hone in on little things in order to make the ball move, instead of, well, your posture's different. It's different. It's different. It's different. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah. Is that all part of spine stability? And are there exercises that you have them do to try to get that? Or is it more just a matter of learning to pitch that way?
I'm not a big exercise guy. I thought, running hills was good for you. I think I am huge into hand and forearm strength. I mean, huge. So I would have my girls that are good are extremely strong in the hand and forearm. So I think that's important to spin the ball. There's just a lot of step and throws, throwing in your glove with good posture, starting to, like 3/4 speed, having good posture at the end, getting the ball to spin right, doing it right, and then expanding as you get better at it. So, with Jordy, we started just drop ball. I mean, it was drop ball. That's all she threw for 3 or 4 years. And she was very good at it, and she could hit her spots, spin it really well. And it's like, why would you do anything else? That's kind of where we started with her.
When you have a pitcher that's as good as Jordy and some of the other girls that you've worked with that are, really top level, I think there's an assumption that people will, say, oh, well, Darren, he's got some secret sauce that he teaches his pitchers, and they're all like that. They're all equally good. Is that the case, or have you had pitchers where you work with them and they just kind of struggle to do whatever it is you needed them to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have some success, I think it's easy to say, you know what, I watched this. Hey, just do this. And they can't do it. You might find a drill. It's like, oh my gosh, I just have this drill that's so great. This other kid comes and says, like, try this. And it's like, they can't do it. Okay, back to square one. But I'm really big into a kid understanding arm whip and making the ball spin forward. And I think throwing in your glove and those one-step throws is the easiest way to get that feel. And you got to do it right. And you got to do it exact. And you got to get your weight through exact. And I'm pretty particular on doing those right. And my better pitchers are very, very good at it.
But have you had pitchers that have struggled? Pitchers where and I'm sure the part of it is the work ethic and everything else of the kid. But have you ever had that where you're working with a kid and she's trying, but it's kind of tough to get her to do what she needs to do?
Absolutely. I'm very a true believer of the pyramid, and you have your top and you have your bottom, and you got a lot more bottoms than you do tops. Everybody wants to be at the top. The kids I probably feel the worst for is the ones that are really, really, really working hard but struggle to get it done. And those are the ones I feel like it's like I wish I was doing a better job instructing. And I think at the end of the day, as an instructor, you have to be able to go home at night and go, I did the best I could, or I'm doing the best I can. But sure, if you look at a pyramid, that's my kids. Like everybody, right?
Just
right.
Like same here.
Yeah.
So you question why you can't get more bottoms to move to the top. Right. And the bottoms might not be terrible by any means, but you still, it's just that. I mean, if you have 20 kids and they all want to pitch, you're going to have one or two really good ones. You're going to have a few that are pretty good. You're going to have, half of them are going to be, not very good. So it's just the way it is.
Well, and that's good to hear from my standpoint as a pitching instructor. It's nice to know that as much success as you've had, you also have, the bottom layer there. I always try to tell people that, I'm the least important part of the whole process. Jay says the same kind of thing. I teach the same things to everybody, more or less. I mean, I allow for differences in body and all that, but the same core principles I teach to everyone, but I get varying results depending on first of all, the DNA of the girl, how hard she's willing to work, how well she understands it. There's a lot of factors that go into it.
Yes. And, and the question for you guys is what keeps you up at night? What keeps you up at night isn't the good ones. What keeps you up at night is the ones that don't get it, and you can't figure out what you're doing wrong as an instructor trying to get them to do something. So I think it's just like anything. I mean, it's the hardest part.
It's funny you say that, Darren. My wife actually makes fun of me. We'll be laying in bed and she'll be drifting off to sleep, and then all of a sudden she'll hear, whoosh, and she's like, here I am trying to break down that kid that I struggled with today while I'm laying in bed. Like, what am I seeing here? And she's like, you're waking me up. You got to turn that down. And she always makes fun of me. She's like, you're always on your phone looking at these videos. And I'm like, I got this kid. I gotta help this kid. I got to see what I need to do to help her. And that's what, and you're talking about what keeps you up at night. That's exactly it for me. It's like, okay, I have this kid. There's a ton of potential here, but man, we're just not getting through to that spot yet. And that's what keeps me up the most. I would say I couldn't agree with you more on that.
Yeah, and it frustrates me as an instructor not to know more or learn more or get different. I mean, trying to get somebody to a certain position through different means, mentally or thoughtfully, I think is hard. Not everybody's going to get to the same exact spots, but it's how are there? Some people you just have to think differently. I mean, I think the motor preference stuff has helped with some of that, but it does keep you up. My mind it's my mind running, and it runs and runs and runs and runs. And it used to really keep me up at night, and I've done better, but that's how my mind works. Whether it's a golf swing or whether it's a fast pitch or something, that it just runs through these iterations of mechanics. And so that's kind of how my mind works at night.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, how many thousands of times, 2:00 in the morning, all of a sudden a thought pops into my head, and then I got to open up my iPad, and there goes on form, and I'm looking at this girl, and I'm scrolling back and forth, and I'm looking for any clues to figure out why, even though she looks good as you're going through it in slow motion, somehow that energy is just not getting into the ball, or looks like her release is pretty good, but for some reason we're not getting the movement.
Yeah, for sure. It's I had a girl the other day. She's a college girl, and she came in, and she's a really hard worker, and she does a really good job, and we're just really trying to get the drop ball to move, and just so slight iterations of weight shifting, and then all of a sudden there it goes. It's like, oh, that one moved.
Yeah.
And she goes, and you can feel it off your fingers when you do it right, but we couldn't get it every time. We couldn't quite feel it every time. I mean, and if you watched it in slow motion, it would look exactly the same. It's these slight iterations of, to me, it's a weight shifting thing that is just so exactly slight. When you shift your weight right, your scap load right, rolls off your fingers good, you get movement. And it's the craziest thing. And it's such a feel thing. It's, and trying to replicate movements, that's why I think spot pitching so important, because people even the baseball pitchers, you're not going to replicate that great movement every time, but you get as close as you can. And there's no slow motion that can do it. I mean, if you're close, you're really close, and you just don't see it unless you're down to the millionth of micro smidge of the way the ball's coming off the fingers, and it's not. And people should be able to feel movement. Yes, we can see movement. We're talking about this ball that tells us all this stuff. It's like, I think that would be, used for a higher level kid, but it's like, for the most part, I mean, I think it's hard to make the ball move, especially for a female, to really make it move good. And I think there's got to be some precision there, because a lot of times strength, they're just not strong enough in the hand and forearm to really have a good, swing and miss movement all the time.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm working with a girl on a particular pitch and all of a sudden it does what it's supposed to do, I just look at them and say, whatever you did there, do that again. Just keep doing that.
Yes, for sure.
So, Darren, do you get involved in any other aspects of the game, like hitting or overhand throwing, anything like that, or are you just primarily on pitching?
I wouldn't teach anybody to throw overhand, but I tell my pitchers, I said, if you want to go pitch in college, if somebody watches you throw overhand wrong, it's a turnoff. I said, learn how to throw overhand right.
Yeah.
Even some of the catchers that are catching, they want to be good catchers, and they're throwing it back, and they drop that arm down there. And and it's just like, hey, just get that arm up. Because as a coach, it's pretty simple to point out the kid that throws bad or the kid that throws good. And that's immediately you have, okay, well, I'm going to watch that. But they throw bad. A lot of times you just get the old red check mark through it, if you can't throw overhand right. And maybe this kid's great, but you're going to get the red check mark because you're not focused enough.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I tell that to these kids all the time when they come in. I say, you got to learn to throw overhand, because it's the easiest way to get eliminated or to move up. If a coach walks by at a tryout and, there's 20 kids throwing in a line and they've got a kid that's throwing really poorly, you've already lost points before you've ever done anything else. Or by the same token, if you get in there and you just look like a player because you're throwing really well, they're going to probably forgive some other sins down the line because they say, well, she just had a bad day.
It's from the time of, the early 90s when I think girls started playing fast pitch here, there was one or two kids that threw the ball right. Now a lot of kids throw the ball right. And it is pretty fun to watch, those middle infielders move like they do now, where before it was just so blah, 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 blah. I wish the outfielders, there was a little bit more. I wish outfielders moved a little bit better, but they're getting better at it too. The swings are 1,000 times better. You don't see people hitting the bat on their, the bat on their back like they used to.
Oh God, I hated that.
It's just, you're just looking, you can call it men's or women's. It doesn't really matter. Just the high level swings. It doesn't matter if it's a female or male. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's what that looks good. And even the pitching, right? I think there's a lot of young ladies that are looking more and more athletic, and, they're not throwing it like a girl anymore. They're just throwing it. So I think it's a big deal.
I wanna talk to you about something you made a comment. I think it might have been a year or so ago. It resonated with me, and I was just spot on. We talk about the hand holding that goes on. I think the College World Series baseball tournament was on, and there was a first and third situation, and I remember you saying something of the nature of like, look at that. Notice how the coach isn't bringing everybody over down to them to talk about exactly what to do. He's like, but yet in softball, everybody's got to run down to the third base coach so that they can tell everybody what to do. I mean, that just resonated with me because I remember, playing. We didn't have people. You never in a first and third on your teams back in the day had your coach tell you guys what to do, did you? So, what are your thoughts on that about the hand holding a little bit in the college softball, even at the highest level?
Well, it's frustrating to me because I think females want to be recognized as being players. They want to say, well, what's the difference between us and the males? It's like, well, if you watch the males, the coaches sit there, the players know what to do. They cross their arms, they do their thing. The females think that, oh my gosh, I got to know what to do. I got to call timeout. I got to talk to them. I got to call, I got to go out to the mound. It's like, no, they're young adults. Coach them up during the week and let them do it. I mean, I think there's big situations where it doesn't hurt, but watching college baseball and then watching college softball, it's like, wow, those college baseball guys, they just sit there and coach. I mean, they know everything already. And I think the girls probably do too. I don't know why the coaches have to think that they have to get them together like they're unable to think for themselves. It's just amazing to me. So I don't care for it. I don't care for the way that works. I think if you want to be on the same level, act like it.
Do you think that might be a holdover from the days when it was all men coaching women and maybe they just thought the women didn't know the game like the guys did and so they had to tell them? And, nowadays, obviously they do know the game, but it's just still, and even the female coaches do it.
I think the female coaches, I just think there's some overflow of the female coaches. They were taught a certain way and they were taught a certain way and they were taught a certain way. And it's like, so it just flows forward. I don't know what it is. I don't know. They're these, young ladies are smart and they're good and they understand. It's not, I mean, every once in a while, sure, it's okay. But I don't think, it seems like every situation they got to do something. It's like, there shouldn't be any special things that should be happening as the game goes on. We should know all this. You're like a top level college team. It's like you should know everything. Should be nothing. I don't mind that the coach goes out and settles down the pitcher from time to time. I know that's going to happen. You just, you watch some situations and some coaches just overcook it. And some coaches, it's just like they play and they all kind of end up in the same way. But I want a kid to be freed up. I don't want them to throw a pitch and look at you like, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? What did I do here? It's like, you have to be in control of yourself. And what Jay's comment was, it's like, I'm not letting these kids be in control of themselves. They think that they need something to do something. It's like, you don't need anything. You got to be in control of yourself. So to answer that, no, I dislike it where you're trying to take a kid and say, well, you got to make sure that you're doing it my way.
Yeah, I remember coaching. It was, I think, a 14U game. And we were going up against a guy, and man, he wanted to tell every kid on the field when he was on defense, every kid on the field what to do in practically every situation. So now it comes down to, I think it was the seventh inning. We had runners on second and third. I think we were down a run or something like that. And there's 2 outs. And he's telling his kids to, make sure, just forget about the runners, just get the out at first. And, we win the game. Well, sure enough, my hitter hits a ball to the shortstop. She tries to throw it home, throws the ball away. We score 2 runs. We win the game. And, he was just going ballistic and all that. My assistant coach is just laughing. And he says, That guy doesn't realize his team tuned him out about 3 innings ago because they got tired of listening to him. So instead of hearing something that was important, all they heard was just more noise from that guy.
Yeah, that's what you hear. And it's unfortunate with a lot of parents. I know they want what's best for their kid, but they just interject way too much. And what's comforting to me is when you can see the kids and the parents really work well together. I don't talk too much. I don't, I talk a little bit, but, as they get older and older, I'll tell a kid and a parent, I said, I really appreciate you guys get the way you get along and the way you guys work together, because I don't see it a lot.
So quick question for you. One of the all-time debates in pitching, especially when you're training youngsters, which comes first, accuracy or speed? What do you work on first?
It's probably going to sound like one of those Democrat debates where it's a yes/no question, yes or no. It's like, well, I would have to say that you want to move correctly and they both will come. I think probably spot first, but moving correctly first, hitting your spot first, the speed will come as you get stronger. I don't want speed to come as I am going to try harder. And there are plenty of parents with the speed gun. The kid has always got the speed gun in their mind. And all the speed gun does is slows down the spin of the ball because they want to throw it so hard. They want to break the record, and it's a mindful thing. Yes, I want people to throw hard. But I want them to throw right. And if you throw right, you will throw hard. If you only think about throwing hard, there's a lot of times you won't throw right. You can throw hard without throwing right. You can't make the ball move very good by throwing incorrectly. Is that a decent answer?
That's a great answer. Yeah. And again, you know what? You can throw the ball as hard as you want, but when you're walking 7 people in 2 innings, you're going to be sitting on the bench anyway, right? So again, speed and spin come together hand in hand, right? I don't think there should be a main focus of we're just going to throw hard, right? Because again, I'll see kids all the time posting that they're throwing 63, 64, 65, and they're walking 5, 6 kids a game. That doesn't me as a coach help me win games at all. Or right? Like I want to win.
Right. Or getting hammered. I mean, there's just going to be times where you're just better than the team you're playing, but that doesn't mean anything. Just being better than the team you're playing against. It's like, learn how to pitch. Don't learn how to throw. Learn how to pitch. I've certainly had kids that are chasing the speed gun, and some throw the ball extremely hard, but struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle and flat. It's just a fine line between, because we want to throw hard. It looks good. I mean, it looks good. People talk about it. Look how hard I can throw. Mm-hmm. It looks good.
Well, and I think throwing hard is also important. If they only learn how to throw strikes, if they're just focused on throwing strikes, any old mechanics will get you there if you're just going nice and easy. So it's kind of like, it's that, like you say, it's a line you have to go where you're trying to go. You're trying to learn to throw hard, but you have to learn to throw properly within that, not just chuck the ball as fast as you can.
Yeah, I see the speed come with strength. We could certainly work on going harder and going harder and going harder, but speed comes with strength. And you don't, when you're 10 years old or 11 or 12 or 13, you're just X amount strong. And as you get older and older, you start to lift weights and you start to do certain things and you get forearm strength and hand strength. And if you have good mechanics, the speed comes with good technique just because you can go a little bit faster. Instead of being not very strong and just giving it just max effort every single time, it's better just to throw the ball right. I certainly want kids to go hard. I want them to throw hard. But, you just don't put your speed down by your ERA. Mm-hmm. So that's just how I kind of feel about that.
Definitely agree.
How do you think your teachings have changed over the years? How do you feel, or even how have you grown as an instructor over, say, the last few years?
Well, I think when I started doing it, I even got into the trap of turning the ball because you just see it so much. It's like, you turn the ball and it's like at the top and it's like.
You mean turning it backwards towards second base?
Yes. Not ever the hello elbow thing. I've never done that. I had a couple kids. I'm going, man, what am I missing here? I wasn't great at how weight worked. So I would say, when you start looking into it a little bit more, and it didn't take long, but then you start figuring it out, watching stuff in slow motion, asking some questions, and then you just, again, try to add a little bit. I was a rotator. I think I started out thinking rotation of the body because I grew up playing around a lot of people that crow hopped. And I think a crow hop is a definitely different dynamic than a straight drag. I think it is more of a push and rotate your hips into the pitch in comparison to pushing straight out. So I was more of a rotator thought as you push out, not a straight push out. So I think I'd gotten a little bit better at that. And, kind of back to Jordy a little bit. Jordy's always kind of got that quasi crow hop. So, that is probably part of my instruction and part of her watching and just part of her dynamics. So yeah, I try to learn a little bit. I mean, and there's too much knowledge too. Sometimes there's so much that it's like, man, we got to get back to basics with most of them. I think there's only time to use that really, 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 down to nitty gritty instruction when kids get really good. But when they're so, it's like, it's too much.
Yeah, either that or maybe it's like you got the kid that you just can't figure out. And it's like, okay, I'm going to have to learn something new here that's going to help me figure out how to get this kid to do what I want her to do.
To move.
Yeah.
Let's go. And I think motor preference has helped. Over the years, I've always been looking for, as you guys, the answer, because it's like we were taught, okay, when you go to push, you get your shin angle, 45 degrees, your right shin angle, your spine angle. That's how you push. And yet as a pitcher, I wasn't good at it. I was a left foot pusher, which at the time I had no idea. But anytime I would get to that angle, I just could not move well. And there's a lot of stuff that Rick teaches that I agree with, like everything. But I looked at it and going, it can't be 100% right because not every elite pitcher throws that way. And I look at elite. I don't look at, Jim down there or Jane down the street that throws 60. I'm looking at the top. And you're going, well, they don't all straight drag. They don't all, they don't all do this. They don't all drag their toe through a certain way. So what are the elites all doing? And motor preference is probably the closest thing for me buying in on why an elite pitcher can do certain things in comparison to that standard straight dragging on your toe, which kind of, I thought that was the way to do it, but I couldn't say at it 100% because not everybody did it like that. Even the guys didn't do it like that. So I think that I'm not going to call it the secret sauce, but understanding motor preference as far as the legs, I think it's made a big difference in some of the things I do. I remember a real quick story. Jordy, I remember it was the foot doctor, and I had heard about the foot doctor, and he was left foot. And it's like, wow, I can't wait to try this with Jordy. I said, okay, get on that left foot and really go. And about 3 pitches, she goes, this doesn't feel right. Like, what? I do have kind of an interesting story. I remember, and Jordy started out as an arm swinger because that's what she felt comfortable doing. And she would struggle from time to time with timing. And I remember I had her an early lesson one morning and I woke up, she was probably 12. And I was, besides dozing off or getting up, and I thought, I'm thinking of this mechanic of the way I wanted her arms to move differently, keeping her hands together. And I went there and I said, this is going to sound like a crazy story, but I was having this dream about you moving this way. And she tried it and she's been doing it ever since. It's odd, but again, the mind is working, trying to figure something out. And she's been doing it that way ever since. So lucky, whatever, I don't know, probably lucky, but interesting.
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, anytime you can find something like that. And I know for me that motor preferences has helped me to maybe stop trying to stop kids from doing things and let them move a little more naturally. I've got a girl right now who, when she lands, she'll like land on her left foot and then she'll end up on her right foot. She just kind of like does this little skip or, kick out or whatever. And I would have probably tried to stop that. And now I look at it and I go, well, that's just her. It works for her. She's
Yes.
doing really well. She's throwing hard. She's throwing accurately. She's out there dominating. Why would I want to stop that?
And at least it gives you another avenue of why things are happening a certain way. I don't necessarily agree with like, okay, we'll just let it just let her ride.
Right.
But it does make sense about the left leg and the right leg and how the leg lands. It's like to you and I, it seems so simple. It's just like land on your left leg and just firm it up. And some people really struggle to be consistent with it. And motor preference, at least in that sense, makes sense why certain people struggle with certain things. And it's been quite helpful with me so far.
Anything else like that you are kind of getting into or have gotten into?
Well, I think that, I was really big into the glove staying kind of close. Now, probably because I had heard it too many times from the guys saying glove up, glove down, glove up, glove down. I think that's probably how I started. Again, you start watching it and you're going, there's too many even pictures of top level men's that glove isn't there. And it's like, okay, so that isn't something. And I think I got away from it, but I think I got away from it too far. The more I kind of go back to the glove, the more I'm finding certain things that I think that glove is causing a little bit more problems than maybe we think. I was really an over stickler on the glove early, and then I got away from the glove. I kind of, once I started doing things in our group, I'll get away from that glove a little bit. And then it's like, you know what? What's the first thing wrong on a lot of this? It's like, well, let's just put our glove on our shoulder and throw a few. It's like, oh, you're not doing it. So I would have to say that I've been trying to figure out that glove a little bit more. And I know we talk about certain things, motor shoulders and things like that, but I think the glove can do more harm than it can help.
At least until the ball is coming back at you. Then it's a good thing. If you were made king of pitching, is there anything you'd change either in the way pitching is taught or in the way the rules are written or the way the rules are even being applied?
I think that the new rule of getting off the rubber is a good rule, that they can leave the ground, but half the umpires think it's one way, half the umpires think it's another way. If they're going to let them crow hop, let them crow hop. I think they did it in the men's, and I think it was a good idea because men's pitching was going the wrong direction. And you started opening up pitching a little bit more. It allowed people to have some success that maybe couldn't do it as they got older, that maybe couldn't do it because it's just easier to crow hop. I think as long as you start with your right foot on the rubber, and I think you should just be able to let them go. I think if I was going to make a change, because it makes it easy for the umpires. I mean, you guys both know when you start calling illegal pitches, everybody's getting riled up.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd's getting riled up. If somebody wants to fight somebody, and it's like,
oh yeah, all of it comes out. All the Karens, all the dads. It's crazy.
I know with the men's at a time that they pretty much let anything go, but they were starting to drag their foot back and lift their foot and put their right foot back down. And ISC came out with the rule and said, you know what, you can crow hop, you can do all you want, but you got to keep the right foot still. Then there's people that didn't maybe love that. But when illegal pitches are called, so the team that's getting the illegal pitch called, they're, the coach is going crazy. The fans are going crazy. The other one, now they're starting to think about it every time instead of just let them do what they do, make it simple. And I think that's where I'd go with it because, some of this stuff that we saw, this crazy double crow hop jumping out there, I don't think that necessarily does good. It just kind of looks silly, but it's like, okay, so what? Crow hop and then keep the right foot on the rubber or put 2 feet on the rubber and crow hop, whatever. But it's like, that's pretty simple. So I think that, They came out with a good idea. Let the kids that are pretty athletic, if they leave the ground a little bit, so be it. But then they don't know, well, is this a crow hop or not crow hop? And we've heard a lot of rules. I just think that either you got to let them crow hop or figure out what it is. And there's quasi crow hops, and I think I would just probably let them go or straight drag again.
So, Darren, just one more question here for me. Do you have any advice, or what advice could you give to aspiring pitchers or even their parents? What's some of the best advice you give?
I think if you really want to be good at something, you have to dedicate your time to it. If you're going to do it part-time, if you want to be just okay, it's all right to be that person. It really is. It's all right if you just want to be, I just have aspirations of pitching in high school a little bit or on my club team. It's okay to be that person. But if you want to be great, you got to get to the finer things. I think where the parents and the kids miss it are they think number of pitches equals success. They think, I think mentally we are thinking success is in the wrong story. If I throw strikes, I'm successful. If I throw hard, I'm successful. If I have 7 pitches, I'm successful. You have to be great at little things before you can get to big things, and everybody wants to do big things first. If you're not willing to put that time in, that time, it's okay. But if you want to be great, you got to be great at little things before you can do big things. And it's really hard for a parent to want that. It's really hard for a kid because they see other people have success. So it's like be great at something small and then build on it. I guess that would be my advice.
And then probably don't compare yourself to other people where, everybody's on their own journey. They'll get there when they get there. So, one kid's ahead of another one. Don't despair. Just, it's a marathon, right?
Yeah. And some kids, there's some young girls that are little, but gosh darn it, some will grow up to be big, and they might, I'm just too little to pitch, or the parent, you're just too little to pitch. It's like, then they grow up to be 5'10". It's like, learning how to pitch, you pitch if you want to pitch. It's all right. But greatness, if you want to be great, you got to work great. If you want to be average, you work average. If you want to be good, you work good. If you want to be great, you got to work great, and you got to work smart, and, little things. It's a big deal to me.
Awesome. Thanks again today, Darren, for joining us, man. I can't thank you enough for being on here. So much great takeaways from what you said today. Thanks for spending time with Ken and I today, man. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, it was nice chatting with you guys today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we really, really enjoyed this and got some great insights. And again, shine a little bit of light on you. I know you like to keep the light focused on your pitchers more. So, it's nice to hear. And, again, good, I think, for a lot of people to hear that you've had your struggles just like everybody else. And, you just keep working through it.
Yeah. Yep. I agree 100%.
All righty. Well, thank you, Darren. That's it for us this week. Thanks to all of you for listening and the kind words you've been sharing with us. If you like what you're hearing, please remember to smash that like button, leave a comment, share this podcast on your social media channels with all your friends, or at least your folks who love softball. If you're so inclined, you can also leave us a great review on Apple Podcasts to help more people find us. On behalf of the From the Coach's Mouth podcast, have a great rest of your week and weekend.